Every year by the state law, that we have never not passed that up. Never.
But you've never had to borrow this much money.
We're not borrowing it. It's in our budget. It's in your paper. It's in our account.
In your,
That we have that we can pay.
okay, it's coming out of next, what money we
Yes,
were
and
supposed to
we'll
be
make
for
that-
next year's
If
budget.
we have to cut the budget next year, we'll cut the budget to meet it. Deidre has just only been here 6 months. She's a young lady. She's not a CPA. Can you give her a little slack?
Yes.
By the treasurer's office in advance that she was going way over the budget. Before she did this, before she bought this, I mean, there's several things in here that we didn't have to purchase this year.
It's anticipated revenue.
Just several things.
She was trying to get rid
No,
of
we
her, trying to
did
find
not
something.
get as much taxes as was anticipated for 2022, which didn't help us at all.
They did.
I know, why did we not get the money from the Crawford? Like, where did that money go? Because we're short, but we're missing money from the county, correct?
Yes.
But
The
that was
county,
that the anticipated,
they didn't collect that money. The money
but that
wasn't
was
collected.
anticipated in our budget, right? Correct?
Correct. The anticipated budget was $1,340,000. We spent
Right.
$1,307,000.
Just a minute, you don't
The
have
anticipated
anything on it.
revenue was 1.4 million.
She keeps backtracking it simply.
She thinks she's
Did
an
the
attorney.
library receive all of that?
She never did pass the bar.
Because we didn't get COVID money, correct?
Correct. No,
Where
we
did
did
the
not
COVID
receive
where did
as
the COVID
many,
money
as
from the library
much
go?
tax money as what was originally anticipated for 2022.
So is somebody here from the court that could tell us where the COVID money went?
They just left to go to Crawford.
But we were supposed to get COVID money that we did not receive, but went to different county entities? Is that what you said?
It went somewhere.
It didn't come to the library.
But as I understand it, none of that money would have been represented.
But that's what I'm asking, is that part of the budget? But that was part of the computer and the
But
upgrade?
because
Anticipated?
the COVID money wasn't given to CCARP. Thank you. We had, or Deidre setting up the budget, had to appropriate money from this account because
From another
we had
account.
we
Anticipated?
had already locked in that we were going to buy that, so that money had to come from somewhere. I mean, that's
A
simple.
contract had
That's
been signed
simple.
by George
That's
and-
business logic. That's
Right.
any business.
So since that had already been done, and then you
Is that
didn't get
correct?
the COVID money, you had to appropriate from,
Wait, so what,
but where did that money go from the county? If it didn't come to you?
We just didn't get enough tax money in. So when people pay, I think it's through like the personal property tax.
And
We just didn't get as much as what was anticipated.
so there was a shortfall on what you were anticipating to get, so.
Right, and we were budgeted over the amount that we actually ended up getting.
Right. Well, and if we all know their own household budgets,
the budget was $1,340,000.
Right,
I
and we
mean,
got
that's what-
1,312,000.
But the actual budget that we were supposed to go by was $1,307,000.
And we have extra expenses for 2022.
That weren't in the budget.
So how is it decided that this is something extra that we have to go ahead and purchase?
I believe the process is you send out bids.
No, not how to do that. Like, how was it decided that, okay, so, advertising was over $15,585. how was the decision made that we're gonna go ahead and spend $15,000 extra on advertising above the budget?
So the reason that I did that is because whenever I first came in, the board was trying to get a millage increase for the library system. I had appropriated money into the advertisement line so that we could get things like bags that say Crawford County Library System, yard signs that say, I can't remember what they say.
Okay, so but what I'm asking is,
So
when we
just
didn't have
a
that
way to
money.
just get our name out there so that
Right.
people would come to the library, use our services, understand the importance of the library in this community.
Right, and I understand that, and that's good, but when we didn't have the $15,000, when that wasn't there,
It wasn't originally budgeted, but when expenses occur,
but who made the decision to spend the money we didn't have for that? Because that's not like the air or the heat or keeping it going, that's extra stuff.
right, I
So-
appropriated that money to buy things such as pins that say Crawford County Library System.
I understand what they were for,
Right.
but who makes the decision to say, yes, let's take this out of unappropriated money and go above our budget?
As the board, we give her that executive privilege to do that.
So she made those decisions by herself.
But it was approved by the board for her to do that.
Let her do her job.
She hasn't done anything wrong.
To stay in the budget is what the thing is. That is her job. That's on her job description.
The money is fluid.
Business budget work, it's a changing document, it always changes.
It's fluid.
And,
I'm an accountant. I'm an accounting degree.
okay, so what was the professional services of 18,000?
What date are you looking at?
920.
920.
I had September 9th and October 11th. Hold on just a second. Do you have it on one of these documents that was sent to Justice Schaefer? And what line item was it?
It was line item number 49.
The line items have 4 digits.
It's ordinance number 2022-49.
Yeah.
I don't know how that corresponds with.
9 and 2. Professional services. Okay, so the one I see for professional services is only $4,000.
What date is that?
So with the ordinance, they list it all as one. So if you appropriate to certain line items, they list it all as one, which is probably where the 18,000 is coming from.
Yes, they added these 3 numbers here from your September 9th to equal that 18,679.85.
Okay, would you mind reading to her what it says that it was spent
So
for?
story time expenses, library materials and supplies, other professional services. So I guess because this was the maximum amount, they all just kind of lumped it under professional services here.
Yes,
So it was
and
a
if you'll
larger
read
one.
at the bottom, it tells you exactly what is going where.
Capital withdrawal. Okay, this was spent between 3 purchases. Painting children's room, resealing and resurfacing parking lot, and installation of panic buttons. These 3 amounts right here. Yeah. And just because those were on the same date, I'm assuming they just kind of want that into this one here because it was advanced amount.
No, the professional services, that was part of the panic buttons and all that.
Brainless busters.
Yes, which was money that was donated from the Friends groups. And they donated it to us, and I appropriated the money into the line item to pay for those panic buttons.
Okay, so what we're seeing is that we're not, that is part of the job, is to stay in the budget that she's been assigned. You can't randomly just spend money, especially money that, you know, that wasn't the next and then assigned to budget. It has to be done properly.
Tammy, I'm sorry, I gotta say something. Yes. I'm sorry. It took me a long time when I started working in government finance, because I've been a bookkeeper since I was 13 for my dad, okay? Government accounting is totally different than private industry. What she is saying to you is that you start with figures that you believe are going to be based on what the county treasurer, the county tax collector tells the entity what they can have. But if you go to any quorum court meeting, just like they're going to do tonight, they are transferring from one line item to another, one line item to another. If you go to any office in the courthouse, every month they are transferring monies from one line item when expenses come in. If the board approved those expenses and they've given the director certain leeway monetarily or line item wise, then she is within her jurisdiction to do that. If she gets out of that and not having a word from the board, that's one thing. But when you're trying to zero in on something that is like what some of the folks have said. But you're trying to hold her to something that was done 12 months ago with anticipated revenue. That happens every year in the city of Van Buren. In the city of Van Buren, Alma, they all do this exact same thing. This is government accounting, and you can't compare. You're trying to say she did something wrong because she was asking to move money. That's done every month at the quorum court meeting and every city council meeting. If you've got legitimate concerns, that's not where you need to be looking.
But she wasn't moving money line item to line item. She was
I have appropriations and transfers.
Okay, but that's not what the question is money that was transferred from line item to line item. The question is money that was not in the budget.
Yeah.
Okay, was not appropriated.
Yeah.
That was spent on things that were not emergent.
They don't have to be emergencies.
Okay.
They don't have to be emergencies. As long as there is money in the bank, as long as they have money in the bank, in their jurisdiction, any office, any entity within Crawford County's budgetary thing, for instance, the road department, they get monies from 15 different sources. The road department can move those monies. They'll have a pocket sitting here, just like the library board did, and it moves continually. It's not ever going to be stagnant, and it's not going to save the same amount. You have to understand
But
that
money that was not in the budget, money that was not approved for spending.
well, but that's part of what you have to do.
Okay, I have to say something. I'm the treasurer recorder of Rudy, and I just did our budget for 2023 today, and I can't take it much more. Y'all are both missing the point. You do budget for the next year, and you have line items, and you don't move money around unless you amend the budget at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
You have to have permission. You cannot just move it around hearsay. It is, every penny is accounted for. And I don't know if y'all get audited, but I get audited every 2 years.
Every year.
Every year? Ouch. Well, this should have come up, that why did you spend this? There's no line item for this until you amended it in June and this happened. Y'all have got to follow procedures. You're both missing it. And it doesn't work exactly the way you're saying.
That was my point to start with, is that she can't just randomly pull money.
You can't.
I'm not.
You have to budget it.
It is not, right.
This is government money.
Exactly.
This is citizens'
Exactly.
money. And you have to prove every
Yes.
single penny.
Correct,
Right.
and it is approved through the quorum court.
Yes. It is approved through the quorum court.
Well, I don't have to deal with them. I get it from the state. The state gives me my everything I calculated everything 2022. They give me 175,000. I moved it over, and that's what our new budget is out of that pocket. That's how you do it right.
It doesn't matter what anybody else's job is. This is Deidre's job that we're trying to.
We always, we're gonna start going around the same question for 30 minutes.
She needs to educate herself before she comes and tries to pull this kind of crap.
It's just, she's not even in the same county, like she has no right to speak, like, I
Well,
don't
she's in
know
the
how.
same, she's in the same county. She gets from a different pot.
But the unappropriated money for each year is not been spent this long.
We
We
didn't
had
have
a
the
lot of
expenses.
expenses this past year.
And that was known by the board at the time, that we were probably gonna be in this situation.
Is it in minutes?
Which is why we were trying to get a millage increase.
Yes.
So in the minutes,
The
the board
millage
knew that we were
increase,
going
the
to.
millage increase has not been, we haven't had a millage increase since 1998. We are operating off of
The
the
same
budget
budget
from
from
1998. You know that?
1998.
Did you know that?
No other county entity operates from the 1998 budget.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have put that out there.
It was put
That's
out
what
before
we're
board meeting
working
last
with.
month.
It's a shoestring budget that keeps getting worse. We have to keep up. As a member of this board, it's my duty to try to make sure that the library is taken care of and the citizens get what they want.
And
The money's there. We've got $600,000.
It's in the bank. It's right there, in the bank.
I don't know how to explain that to you.
Just let Deidre do it. She can figure it
it's
out.
not appropriated for the 22 budget.
She's been given an executive privilege to do that. That's in our bylaws. It's in our bylaws.
Because when we come to get audited and we don't have money for the next year, because they were given, she was given.
Ever happened. That's what you're saying? This is the very first time it's ever happened.
I'm saying that as far as I had went back, and I could go back, that there was been an unappropriated amount of money of approximately 70 to 120,000 that was left.
How far did you go back?
This didn't get you trying to fire her.
They're trying to find a way.
So what, okay, let's say that again. So how far back did you go?
I went back at least 5 to 10 years. I
5
grew
to
some,
10? Which is it?
5 years for sure.
5 to
and then I
10?
went back to,
10?
like, picking
That's a
year
big
here and
gap.
The ones that matched your
And-
data.
there. No, I just picked a year.
So
And
5
I don't know
years.
what it was.
Exactly.
So at the audit report, yeah. Did you look at the audits, each of your, each yearly audit report?
I haven't looked at the audit reports, but
So what were you looking at, the budget versus the?
what was rolled over the next year? The budget and the
So how much
unappropriated
carryover
money.
you had from the previous?
Right, the budget and the unappropriated money,
Okay.
okay, that was
And
spent.
you're saying that this year's rollover of unappropriated funds is less
It is
than
negative $9,000. And it, in the past, has been 70 to
that we
120,000.
were putting into the bank for a shortfall year, right?
That was rolling over.
That was rolling over.
No,
and-
what's
and-
rolling over is the 624,000.
Exactly,
Okay,
but that
What
came
you-
out of the previous years having excess or whatever,
What you
right?
were talking about is the allocated budget for
Right.
2022.
I'm talking about the budget plus the allocated unappropriated money for 2022. The 600,000 is what came in throughout the year that was not in this.
It's come in from several years. It's a carryover.
So it's your cushion, it's your, basically, it's your financial.
Built-in cushion.
So we don't have a
It's the
shortfall.
unappropriated amount of money each year. Not the money that comes in throughout the year that we always send over to 23.
That's what you have to look at.
She might have been here for so long, she don't know.
Exactly. And now
She's been on board since last.
And then what is,
When did she get president?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago at the last board.
We have always
Yeah,
been.
December.
She knows more than anybody.
She knows
And
what's
we
right.
have this cushion that can be spent. Because it is a cushion.
So you don't have to stop your regular order of operations, you just keep operating your library.
It is
without-
a cushion. It's unappropriated.
And now we spent all of it and we have to go through.
No.
So if you finish out the year and pay off the remainder, how much is left in the bank?
In the bank?
That's the 16,000 for the allotted.
So there's 600.
For what was allotted to
What
spend
was
this year,
allotted
but
to
we had a
spend for the 2022
$25,000
budget.
Is there an actual motion here, or are you just going in circles?
Thank you.
So 25,000 is coming out of the 600,000, appropriating out of the 600,000. Am I understanding that correctly? We need to appropriate $25,000, give or take, to finish paying out the 2022 bills out of the 600 plus excess.
unappropriated funds.
Is that correct?
We have to,
In order to finish the 2022 budget, you need $25,000.
no, we need $9,000.
Okay, you need $9,000 to finish the 2022 budget.
Actually, the budget's been spent,
Okay,
plus $120,000 of unappropriated funds.
and those came from where?
Those came from the unappropriated funds for that year.
All right. And you still have $9,000, 19 something in the budget?
No,
Took 20.
there's 16, but we owe
Still owe
25.
9,000, so we still owe
Okay.
9,000.
So $9,000 is still.
So all we're short is $9,000, correct?
Correct, we're short $9,000, yes.
All right.
Out of the
Out of the $600 to spend.
Out of the 600,000.
You can take that $9,000 out of the 600,000 we got and pay the bills. Right? Well, that is what you are gonna have to do.
It's not rocket science, Tammy. That's not what, that's, okay.
You are,
I'm not
you are
saying we're not gonna do
you are
it.
nitpicking this and
I'm
you're
not saying
nitpicking
we're not gonna
it
do it, but what I'm saying is, we can't spend money like this. We
Then-
can't do that or we won't have it.
How much does a wrongful termination suit cost?
Oh!
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone say anything about terminating.
Well, you're going to hear about it soon.
We have all these years of experience that know what they're talking about,
And all
and
the
you've been
seniors
on the
for
board for 2 weeks. Yeah.
And you ain't even read the audit.
And
When
you
we-
can't understand the math.
Everybody.
Okay, so,
You need to do what you need to do. You beat this today.
okay, so what I would like,
Can I just donate the money for the gate books and we all go home?
Yes. Yes.
Is it gonna affect
money, the less money to
Have none,
roll
right.
over, then the cushion will be.
But the 2023 budget has already been allocated. We just have less rollover than last year.
Right, but the question I think that's being unresolved is, do you have the authority to spend money from that 600,000 unallocated, unappropriated, thank you, unappropriated fund without it being part of the budget?
Yes, I believe so, because I present it to the quorum court, they vote on it, and then at the library board meeting, once you see all of the transfers, then that's voted on as well.
Is it not your job to assist the board in the formulation of that annual budget?
Yes.
And have been this whole time. So you'd have to hold the quorum court and the library board also responsible for all those too, because they've also approved all that.
Is that the question then? I mean, we've got,
The question
we
is,
went over budget,
Right.
for sure. We continued to spend even while over budget.
right, and we were told we were over budget.
Told we're over budget, but if
And
if it's okay to continue to do that because we know we can pull from an unappropriated funds account, I mean, if that's legitimate, then does that become then okay that we did that?
Yes.
Yes.
Considering it's $9,000.
Out of 600, over half a
My
million.
question
We
is,
had a projection of
want to be held liable?
But you don't have to approve it the next time it comes up, Amy.
But she's already spent it.
Keep going.
It's already spent.
But you're not that whole, you weren't on the board then, so you weren't approving that. The 2023
Okay,
budget's what you're
are we as a
on.
board going to be liable if next year she spends more out of the 24?
Your board
You're projecting.
Until at one point.
Hypothetical.
But every 2 months, so the one shooting.
She has to get approved.
You guys need to speak up some future.
Right.
Yeah.
So the
Having been-
minutes from
having
last
been-
year, can you show me where you got approval to spend all the money?
I was there, it was approved, and also,
Okay, so you-
here's
all the extra
here's from
money to spend.
from my game plan. When George was here, we were expecting to get pulled from the COVID money. He was projecting that we were going to get about $450,000 to help pay for all of this stuff that has come up. We got zilch for it. And now we're over budget $9,000.
But the county got that money somewhere.
Right.
Let's just keep that in mind.
Yes, well, that's a whole, anyway.
Considering you
point
built
is
the
that
whole
it's
library.
We're only pulling $9,000 from the rollover, which probably next year we'll have to do the same thing again and again because we don't have a millage increase.
Which is why we were trying to go for a millage increase, because we are running on fumes. And we have been.
That's why we need to bring more people into the library and not push them away from the library.
Yep.
Exactly.
Get your friends in the library more.
It's time to admit nothing happened wrong.
Somebody make a motion.
It's in the quorum court for this.
Yeah, really.
And then the budget ain't gonna be allocated.
Has your question been answered?
She's trying to hold it up so it can't be.
What, can you
That's my theory, I think that's what
You need to go to the quorum court meeting?
Can you restate your question then, so we can try to move forward?
Is this a ploy to keep you from going?
I almost feel like my budget because I'm not there.
Yeah.
We got you, Davis. No, it's okay.
Well, that's just it. It's not a place. People don't understand. She needs to be there.
She's grasping, like she's trying so hard to find something else to say, but there's nothing else to say.
She hasn't done anything wrong. She's been doing a great job with the little bit that she has.
I mean, she didn't go to school to get her master's and study for no reason.
Aren't they talking about the budget, library budget right now? They are.
Yeah, and Deidre's supposed to be there.
Yeah, can y'all all agree to let Deidre go with her job and you study financials or something? Figure out what you're talking about?
Do you realize that you're holding her from our budget meeting at the quorum board? She has to be here too. This is part of her job. Be here to answer your questions.
You're helping to defund the library.
The quorum board needs to put hers to the back or something so you can get down there. Well, they kind of have, somebody has to budge somewhere. Somebody has to be a grown-up, whatever, and because
That's the point of this meeting.
you can't clone yourself, girl. No, they started at
6:30.
They started 10 minutes ago.
We're ready to go.
So, do you see where it was approved?
So it is the point.
I don't see why.
You have this meeting, so she couldn't be there at the budget. Yeah?
Yep.
Do you see where it was approved?
Answer the question.
We're not answering questions.
It's not a proper question.
And this is not one action.
One person reviewing about how we're under budget and moving money around to cover costs.
So where was it approved? Because there's no approvals in
The
it.
financial statements are approved at every board meeting. It shows you the most
Part of
recent
Robert's rules,
budget.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Part of Robert's rules, you have to approve the financial statements along with the minutes that's been brought for you from the last meeting.
Right.
And when I
And
get
that's
my
been
budget
done every
report from
month.
the courthouse, I then
Okay.
put it in
Did
your
it?
packet and send it to you guys.
Only thing is, it wasn't done this last month with y'all. I don't believe it.
So in other words, you have every opportunity to look over 2023 and make sure it's okay, and let's.
Every meeting they'll
Yeah.
have.
So let's move on.
I brought in this.
And be able to track, and if they see that they're going over budget, then they'll know ahead of time.
If they read it.
Well, at some point, you can't just, I mean, if we continue to accrue a running balance every year and never spend it, then there's no point of having that carry over. So there has to be some mechanism to say, hey, we've got all this money left over from previous years. Let's spend some of it on, things that we deem appropriate.
The reason that
Who built the Alma Library?
the reason we have always been carrying over some of the money is because at some point, we may have a disaster of some sort.
Right. Yeah, that's how any sensible
Right.
person would operate.
Sure.
And we get money from the state. The state can just take that away at any point.
Right.
We have to have a cushion.
Exactly. That's why I'm worried about it being spent.
Well,
But it- But that's not what.
What's the point? Tell me.
Okay, the point is that your cushion that you always had,
What's it
you're
down
about
to?
$100,000 every year, that cushion that you always had was spent this year.
So you're saying instead of putting $100,000 in, we're taking 9,000 out? Is that the long and short of it? Normally, we put 70 to $100,000 in it. This year, we're going to take 9,000 out of it.
Right, and my question is that something that was just allowed to do with it? Because I don't see anywhere in
said
here
yes over and
where it
over.
was pre-approved
Oh, Lord.
to spend that money, to spend the cushion.
We're normally putting $100,000 in